Welcome to our 2020-21 season open day, Owners Day, which is obviously very different this year. And so I just wanted to film it for all you owners out there and supporters of ours. And so I'm going to show you sort of about 50 horses and give you a little commentary on everybody, all the horses and all the girls and boys, which you wouldn't have seen for quite a long time now due to lockdown. And anyway, we're ready to kick off, but what I would like to say straight away is we've got our yard sponsorships finishing in January, and we've had George and Kate Digweed, who have been great for us, and they've been great supporters for a very long time, but they're packing up with the sponsorship, and it's been taken over by Dan Dennis, who's Equestrian Fencing and Timber Limited. So we start with sort of a new uniform in February, so it's great to have a new sponsor, but many thanks to George and Kate, they've been brilliant, and onwards and upwards with Dan. And also in the last year, I'd like to say we've the loss of two of our owners, which is Pete Butler, who was a great fellow and a great supporter of ours, and we had enormous fun with Pete, and Frances Coates, who owned one of the best horses they had was Come On Ginger, and we had really great supporters of Coates, and it was very, very sad to lose her within the last year as well. But on that note, we're going to kick on, and so we're going to kick off with the first horse here. This is Frankie leading up How Long Is a Foot? So How Long Is a Foot is one of our good old servants, and this will be the last time you see him here. Frankie, we're going to just have a little stand up. Good girl. So he is a great old boy. He's won a few races with Paul Nicholls, lovely type of horse as you can see. And he's just going off to, actually Frankie, we can move him on. So he's going off to Molly Landau. Now Molly Landau's sire is Guy Landau. And the dam is Emma Coveney, who she would have been in the past. So he's a very, very good point-to-point rider in the southeast. And Guy was, Frankie, pull yourself together, girl. And get manners on that horse. So Guy was a legend in the show ring. He's a legend as a jockey. And so she's got a great pedigree. So she starts off with How Long's a Foot? She's 15 now, just about to turn 16. And the other one she's got is Hit the Highway, who's another good old servant of ours. So she's taken them both off up near Uttoxeter. So it's the last time we see Footy. He's been a good old boy, and it's great to get him a good home. Frankie, that's smashing. And it's a shame, actually. She's been playing with us all summer. And she's going back off to college, and maybe she might be back with us in a year or two's time, hopefully. Have a full-time job. We shall see. Now this is Jack. Yeah. And this has just changed stables. So this is a 3-year-old Marla. It does confuse me when horses change stables. He's just been brought in from a back. So he's actually relatively new to us. He's only a 3-year-old. He is owned by Ian and Bill. Ian Morris, who's had a couple of horses with us in the past, and they've taken this gorgeous horse over that is only 3, but you can see he's a lovely type. He's going to be jumping fences. Really look forward to jumping over fences in a few years' time. But he will, all going well, he'll probably run in the bumper in the spring. But we would need lots of luck. You know, he's a little bit unfurnished, and we're talking about more of a year's time before he runs in the bumper. But he's a real nice 3-year-old, as I said, by Marla. So I don't know if you're just looking at that horse there, we can move him on, Jack. Good boy. He had been by Marley. He's a little bit long. I've got quite a few of them. One of my best horses, Comanche Red, if not the best. He's by Marla, and it will almost look like they've got an extra rib. But as you can see, lovely type and very nice and relaxed. Good boy, Jack. Okay, we'll potter him back in. So good old Clara from the Czech Republic, yeah, and then Albert Hackelbach. So he's owned by Jane. Whoa, good girl. He's owned by Jane Southwell, and we're just push him back a little. That's smashing. So, and he's a 4-year-old, and he was ready to run in the spring, but sadly we didn't get there, obviously due to COVID, and but he'll be ready to go in the sort of a first. Well, October, you know, he'll be I think I did have it on top of my head. We might go to the Fontmore Festival with him. So if we do, that'd be smashing. Nice to get him out the track and get him on the track and see what we've got there. But he's by leading light out of that's Grand Clara. He's by leading light out of King's Theatre Mare actually. And the King's Theatre Mare, she had a little bit of black type. And he would have been quite an expensive foal, but he just didn't. He's not the biggest in the world. You know, whether he jumps the fence will be probably unlikely, to be quite honest. But he'll be hopefully fun in bumpers and a good fun hurdler. If a trainer does well, he'll make him into a decent hurdler. We shall see. Anyway, that's great. Thank you, Clara. Okay, we got Nathan now. So Nathan is our new conditional jockey. If you have a problem with Irish and being ginger, and you don't want him, but we have to get through that one, won't we, Nathan? So Nathan's actually got a dash off. He's got a ride at Fontmore today. So we wish him luck on that, but hopefully he can ride a few winners for us this season. So he's holding a horse called Can't Stop Now, who's owned by Alex Gorey. Who's can't think what the syndicates are called. Let's Live Racing. Let's Live Racing. And Alex is a good supporter of ours. He's been with us a couple of years and went to Newmarket. He's not a very expensive horse. He's a juvenile by Star Sprangled Banner. So he's quite. I think he was an 85 grand yearling in this, and I can't remember what he was. I think he was 7,000 or 8,000. We bought him for at Newmarket. So he would be to run as a 3-year-old in juveniles and be a hurdler, you know. So we've been doing lots of steady work with him. He's got the ability, he's got quite a long neck on him, and watching his races, he's got a bit of a flip-top head on the flat, as in basically he throws his head back and sort of towards the jockey's lap, shall we say. So anyway, he's been lobbing along, going nicely. Gas ground, Nath. And we will see him probably end of this month, stroke beginning of October. So that will be Can't Stop Now. He's with Clive Cox, by the way, on the flat, and he's rated 72 or 3. 73, I think it is. Yep, 73. So anyway, all going well. It should be fun in juveniles. What's very, very, very difficult with a horse like that, he was a 7,000 or 8,000 pound horse. We will go into a juveniles and we'd be meeting horses that have come over from France and places which have cost an awful lot of money. And funny enough, there was a horse that changed hands in France for 900,000 this year privately, and that was a juvenile that won first time out. So it's difficult. You meet those types of horses, and hopefully we can have some fun with him. Anyway, now this is Lorna. She's leading up. Ask Politely. So Ask Politely is steady away, good girl. Ask Politely had a couple of runs in point to points, and he was second first time out. And then he was pulled up after that. We bought him then. He's owned by the great Les Gilbert. I'll tell you what, Lord, don't worry, we'll get him walking. He's spotted my great grain. So that's Asked Politely. And no, for Les, he's been with us ever since day one here. And, a great supporter. And Mrs. Gilbert's not in the best of health at the moment, so we wish her all the best. And because I want years of fun with those two. Every time we go racing, they've been in it for a long time, and if a horse runs badly, old Les will be, you take your chances, pay your money, you take your chances, and just enjoys the day, which is so important in national hunt racing. And it's very much about just getting there and having a cracking day, which is making life very, very difficult for us all with COVID. And I'll just tell you just very quickly yesterday, I've been boring a few people with it already, but it was great to go to Stratford. And we went into town and had a little meal beforehand. But people were walking around at the market, no masks on, and just realising that it seems like life has got to get on. We have got to get on before the whole bloody world packs up. But and then we go into the racetrack, and it's very, very difficult for us owners and trainers. Sorry, Ram, we're just walking for a second while I'm start banging on. But it's very, very difficult for us all at the moment, and I just feel like we really do need to move up a gear. A lot of our owners, that's the one thing we have. 95% of them after a run is going to be slightly disappointed. And if us as trainers, my job is normally done by the time we go racing, but that's my one job I can do on a day of racing is pick those owners up after a slightly disappointing run, get a few drinks into them, and make a fun day out of it all. Life has to be fun, especially national hunt racing. And and that's what it's all about. But it's tricky. It's tricky. So can we please kick on? Right now, so this is Ram. Now Ram has been with me since day one. I think within 2 months of us moving here, actually, Ram came to us, and now he's brought his son over, and that's Grand Ram. Now this is a horse that can be very, very difficult. Um, it's only rock and roll. I bought him from Willie Mullins. To be quite honest, he'd probably be the last one I buy from Willie Mullins. He has got a mouth like a bag of spanners. So Simon Walker rides him out every day, and that's Grand Ram. That's grand. And luckily, he went and won for us in. That's good, Ram. Yeah, Ram's only been with us 13 years. The English hasn't come on too much yet, but anyway, so he did win at Wincanton, thank God, last year. He's over 2 miles and he went a hell of a gallop and he actually settled. But normally he's just in such a hurry to get everywhere. So he's a nice looking horse and everything, but if you went for a little day's hacking on him, you probably would end up in an air ambulance. Anyway, so that's It's Only Rock and Roll. He's actually, Team ABC syndicate have him headed by Luke Axelberg. And Luke certainly knows how to enjoy a day's race, and he's puts a few syndicates together, always has a great team of people, and he manages them all very well. We all go out for a little lunch before racing and try and have a fun day. So Kira now, she's leading up Lord Baddesley. Lord Baddesley is owned by the Cheshires, Richard and Carol, and actually he's a gorgeous horse. He's a horse that I'm really looking forward to in novice hurdles this year. Typical Doyen stamp actually, and he jumps like a buck. I've got 2 really good, nice novice hurdlers, which are him and 2 Minutes Turkish, and just looking forward to him. He just need lots of luck and things to go well. Kira, that's smashing. And so he came from John Costello, which a lot of so it's my number one source of buying horses, John Costello, and they show us several, and we can choose what we like to see going and jumping around a fence. But it's great to be able to go into school with an unbroken horse and just seeing it being jumping around a fence. At least you can see the scope and the movement, everything. It's very hard at sales sometimes, and all we can do is actually see them walk and trot. But that's Lord Baddesley. He ran his 2 bumpers last year. He got beaten a short head in a very hot bumper first time out last year, which was a surprise because mine are not normally wound up for bumpers first time out. And people do forget that, for me, bumpers are very much for an education. It's great if we can win a bumper at some point, but for him to go and run second, which is great. And then went to Kempton, and the race was not run to suit us. For me, I wanted a horse to be held up and taught manners, and which Tom did, and they went absolute crawl. Ended up in a sprint, all a bit messy, but the good thing is he ran well with it, It's all about education, bumpers. So that's Lord Baddesley. Watch him. Okay, that's grand. And now we've got Anna leading Annual Invictus. Slip of the tongue. So Annual Invictus is owned by my farrier, Tom, and his wife Emma. So it's great actually to have a farrier having a horse. And the funny thing with this horse, one time I thought he would actually, he ran twice for us last year. He was second, then fifth in second in a bumper and fifth in a good maiden hurdle. And when he was sort of really fancy, his favourite or second favourite, he's gone down to the start and he pulled his shoe off. And it's ironic that it's a farrier's horse, shall we say. Because a lot of owners would get very upset about something like that. It's just life and these things happen. So, but that's the way it goes. But you see, he's a lovely type. He's by Marla. He's a winning Irish pointer actually. I think we'll have lots of fun with him. I think we'll be very competitive in a little maiden stroke novice. We've had the one run, and it was a good run in that's lovely, Anna. In a good maiden down at Fontwell, and I think all going well. We have lots of luck. Fingers crossed. We'll have lots of fun. Okay, that's smashing. So that's Annual Invictus. And now we've got Carly with Cadmar. 2 wrong uns together. So we've got now good old Carly. All you owners at home will be recognising Carly. She's been with us basically from first month of coming here, I think, too. So she's been here 13 years, and so when Carly turned up, she'd been working for two previous trainers, and I phoned up the first one. They said don't touch her with a barge pole, and the second one said no, give her a chance. And within a month of Carly working for us, she phoned me up at 2 o'clock in the morning once, and and his phone goes at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's always a worry. But it says, "Master, I'm so fucking bollocks. I won't be in tomorrow." So as it was, God, I was peed off, as you could probably imagine, and she didn't turn up, and it's the only time she's done it. So this season now she's head girl actually, and she's doing a great job getting manners on the crew. And as you can imagine, it's hard putting manners on them all. So there we go. You're doing a good job, Carly. Now, this is a good old boy. Now, this is Cadmar. And he's a gorgeous type of horse. He's by Scirocco, owned by Richard and Carol Cheshire. And he had one run last year. He was fourth in the bumper at Worcester, which Lord Baddesley was seconded. And then he went and bolted up in proper winter ground down at Chepstow. A lot of those Sciroccos have huge knee action, and he certainly got knee action. But sadly, he came back and he had fractured his knee badly. And so we have got one or two issues on this horse. He was sort of going to be retired, and we've decided to give him a little extra go. And we'll see. Hopefully, he's got slight foot problems as well, which that's Tom's department. The knee's actually healed up pretty well, but we'll see how we go. We tread carefully with great caution. But you see, he's a lovely big type of horse. He's almost a little bit too big, I suppose. He went to Moppy Pete's during the summer, which a lot of ours do. She does them beautifully. Moppy down in Sussex, and my wife worked for her father for 13, 14 years, I think, and I rode for them for years. And so it's great to still have that relationship. But as you can see, if we can keep him in one piece, he's a fair old horse, that. And but we need lots of luck, as we do with them all. Okay, that's lovely. So we're going to see, this is Jack now leading up good old Remeluk. Now, I'd like to say about Jack. Jack's been with us now, it seems like forever, but since he left school, and I think you're 19 now, Jack. He's 19. And so he's been around since then. And this boy, he's come on so much. His riding's hugely improved. And anyway, he's got his amateur license now, and he's got a whole... actually, just keep him walking for a second, Jack. So he's got an old horse called El Kitios, which won that Magnolia Cup down at Goodwood. Yeah, he did win the Magnolia. It is a Magnolia Cup, isn't it? And he won that. He didn't get as much recognition as the girl who won it last year, but I think he had the wrong headdress on. And but it was hopefully Jack will have lots of fun. It's great, you know. It's nice that someone like Jack can come in and he's really improved through this. His riding's improved, and actually go out there and have a bit of fun on the racetrack. Just flat racing. We don't want to kill him off yet. So he's leading up good old boy Remeluk. So this fella came from Paul. Paul phoned me up one day and said for me to come and pick him up, and he wasn't sort of fitting into a big yard like that. And if you can see on the camera, we've got he had a fistula with her. Good boy. Fistula with her, as you can see here, which isn't very nice. So basically, he had an infection in the bone. He'd flipped over with Paul, and when I went down to pick him up, he had a bit of a hole in his head, but all his wither was clean. And we had a few problems in his first year. Jack, that's lovely. We can whistle him around, and a few little problems. And it turns out that he'd fractured his wither and the bone had got infected. So he had two operations to shave the bone down. You can see extraordinary shape. And he's come back and he's won at Cheltenham. He's won at Cheltenham. He was second at Cheltenham Festival. Been second twice at Cheltenham, and he was third in the old Schweppes. I've just got Anne Blake attending up, but she's like my old mum, so she's allowed to come and watch the old parade today. And she wouldn't know how to watch it and put a computer on anyway and watch it on TV. So anyway, so he was third in the Schweppes, or what's it called, the Betfair now, and I do think it'd be the one race that got away from me, and it'd have been lovely race to have won. You know, instead of when I keel over it, instead of sort of trainer dies, it would be successful Betfair winning trainer dies. And it sound good, but there we go. And it didn't rain. It dried up so quickly, and there's just one or two factors going towards it that, damn it, I missed a great opportunity. Just weather and one more run to help us with the handicap mark might have helped him. But there we go. Jack, you're a lovely man. I can't say too much more. And now, off we go, Jack. Jack, what's going on with your hair? For fuck's sake, boy. Looks like you've been in lockdown for 6 years or something. So now we have Lily. Lily's a new girl. She's leading up Milnthorpe. So we have Lily here, who's on a month's trial. She's on 3 weeks now, I think. So she's doing well, but she still has got 1 month. One more week she can really fuck up in. So let's hopefully in this time next year, you'll be able to see Lily. So, but we'll see how it goes, eh? Anyway, this is Milnthorpe. Just pushing back a little bit more. He's just in a dip. That's grand, good girl. And then, so Milnthorpe here. It's a funny horse, actually. I didn't buy him. John Costello bought him from one of the sales in Ireland. And he's very high behind he was. And normally, a lot of youngsters are like that, and they grow up and up and up, and their withers come up, and it all ends up a little bit more symmetrical, shall we say. This horse hasn't, and he's still got his sort of back end up in the air, and he's 5 now, coming on to 6. Apart from that, he's a nice type of horse, and he jumps very, very well in the school. He's in our racing club now. He's had a couple of runs in bumpers, so Ian Morris came out of him, and under my recommendation, he's going to be a moderate horse. He's going to get handicapped and be a 0 to 100 horse. And I don't think really Ian's into that. And so that's why I went and bought him a 3-year-old Marlow, hopefully a much nicer type. But we shall see. And good old Milnthorpe, Lily, that's grand, just lead him away. By the way, your boyfriend was waiting on the driveway, and he's waiting for you. And I said he won't be finished at 2 o'clock. So he's coming back then. He had a massive love bite on his neck. So that's Milnthorpe and Lily. Okay, so the next horse. Hey! So we have 2 of my favourites here, Kira and Highway 102. So, Kira, how long have you been with us for now? Nearly 2 years. And what's your favourite horse? On the slopes. So Kira leads up on the slopes, and she absolutely loves him when she goes racing. But this horse, he's a gorgeous, gorgeous horse. And so he would be, God, you know, at the end of the day, we're very lucky to have a horse like this in the yard. Bought him unraced from John Costello, probably unbroken as well. When we buy one unbroken, they go off to Claire and Chris Bonner, who do break in all of ours. Claire, she used to be Claire Allen, who was actually gone. We mooch him, but we do a couple of circuits with him. Claire Bonner used to be Claire Allen, so she was champion point-to-point girl, and Chris was assistant trainer to Andrew Baldwin, and they set up a breaking yard. And so they're doing really well. They break them in, they give them time, and do it the old-fashioned way, I think, you know. And so you've got a nice horse. If it's not going to make a racehorse, it can go and do something else. It's been well broken and everything. Anyway, this particular horse, here he is. He was very, very keen in his bumpers. We could have won a bumper if we had blasted him from the front, or been very, very handy, but it wouldn't have been too good for his future. So we held him up, tried to put some manners on him, and he got placed in a couple of them at Ascot and Stratford. And anyway, when we came to hurdling, I was very worried about the ground, actually. We went off down to Plumpton. It was very, very heavy. And but I thought, right, let's give him a go. He's by Scirocco, and they do generally go in the mud. Anyway, absolutely ploughed round and bolted up, and then he went back to Plumpton. I keep forgetting to look at the camera. I must do that every so often. And he went off to Plumpton for the second time and bolted up, and then we went to Kempton for a grade 2, and he was our first grade 2 winner, which is brilliant. And we go novice chasing with him this year. So I just try and find a little novice chase. I just feel he's only run 3 times over fences, but he's the sort of horse, if I do another year's hurdling, he's a keen type, he will get flatter and flatter over his fence. He's keener and keener, and I think it will make it harder for him to jump a fence. For me as a trainer, all I can do is make him as clever as he can, because when they jump off in a race, he will be on it. He'll see that fence and he will go. I just hope I don't have some complete buffoon charging along with him and they just let him get on with it, if you know what I mean. And you just want so much luck in that first novice chase. You just want him to jump around, just enjoy it, hopefully win, and hopefully the sky's the limit. But we shall see. He's 146 horse, and if he can improve a bit for a fence, which I think he will, brilliant. You never know. The dream is still alive. He's owned by Anthony Ward Thomas, by the way. Anthony's an old mate of mine. He's a great owner. Right. So this is our Doyen filly. So Carly's leading up this. This is, what is she? She's 4 now. She's just had her throat cut. She's just had a wind operation. She's had a soft palate and a hob day, this filly. You see, she's a lovely stamp of filly. Had to buy her, but Baddesley Knight is her full sister. Baddesley Knight's a 138 rated horse of ours. That's where you'll see in a minute. I won't start banging on about him. But Henrietta Knight saw her in Ireland. She said, "I've got to have her." So anyway, she's there. I don't know quite what we're going to do with her. We're obviously going to run her, and hopefully we're going to go and win the bumper now. But we just had a bit of a rattle, a bit of a whistle from her. So that's why we've had a wind operation. Can I just give her a walk actually now, and hopefully she'll go and win her bumper by miles, and everyone will be trying to buy her for lots and lots of money, which should be great. So that's our Doyen filly. So she's unnamed. And all going well. I think we're looking at November, aren't we, love? Something around there. Okay, here's a good old boy, the Tin Miner. So Frankie's leading him up, and he is owned by Brenda Ansell. So Brenda's is great. We go back a very long way with Brenda, myself and Jen. We both would have ridden her, when I was a teenager, I would have ridden for her. And she's sort of come out a little bit out of point to pointing. And she's got a couple of horses with us. Kevin Giles absolutely loves this horse. He does him during the summer, and he always comes back here looking at picture, which does make my life a little bit easier. And David Bridgewater actually will just lead him round Frankie. That's great. He's got himself quite hot actually. So it's a microphone. He does buzz up some of these horses, and so he should be fun. He won a hurdle race for us last year. He's got one or two issues that make life quite hard for him. He fractured a knee, I think, as a 3-year-old with Bridgie. I think before Bridgie bought, or might have been before Bridgie bought him. But he's by presenting. I think his dam's half sister to best mate actually. He's got quite a good pedigree on him. But Frankie, that's grand. And but hopefully we can try and pick up another little hurdle. It'd be great if we can. Now here's Anna, I've known Anna. She used to work for Anne Blaker for years and years and years. I think she was 13 when she was first down there, leading me up on the old horse. And she's leading up Sammy Bear. Now, Sammy Bear is a horse by Sunamani, unraced, owned by CEO Axelberg. I think she might have put him in a syndicate, actually. I can't think what the syndicate's called. But he's a lovely little horse, lovely nice stamp of a horse. His half-brother is on the slopes. On the slopes, of course, is a very smart horse. But he's 4. He was due to run in the spring, which obviously we didn't get a run because of COVID. And that's grand, Dan, that's grand. But he's working really well. He's very workmanlike. There's nothing flashy about him. You don't stand up on the gallops and go, wow, you know. He does it well, and he's very professional about it. And I look forward to running him in the bumper, which should probably be, I think I might have said about the October Festival, wasn't it? And so the October Fontmore Festival. I love the Fontmore Festival. For us, it just starts off a bit of jump racing and proper jump racing, sort of summer jumping. So anyway, that's Sammy Bear. I think he's named after the natives in Norway. Luke and Sierra have a place over there. I think that's right, isn't it? Sami bear, not Sammy bear. Sami bear. So the local natives in Norway, I always thought they were Vikings, but there's something to do with Samis. Is that right? Okay, so we have Lorna leading up I was going to call him the Tin Miner. Top Man. So good old Top Man. He's owned by, is it Tom Howes and a group of boys? I can't, we have syndicates and I get so confused who's in what. And I know Derek's in this. Anyway, there's a few boys in this, and he was great fun last year. I bought him from an Irish point-to-point field after winning over there, and he's by Milan, and he's a winner at Plumpton last year in the maiden hurdle. He's up to 117 now. He'll go novice handicap chasing. His first run, I've got it in my little head at the moment, will be a 2 mile, 3.5, 0 to 120 novice handicap chase at Fontwell. But we'll see. That's what we're aiming towards, and fingers crossed. So that's Grand Lorna. But he's a bit of a playboy. He's typical Milan, but really enjoys life, and hopefully we can have some fun with him. But he's certainly got the size and the scope to jump a fence, and winning Irish point-to-point gives you a bit more faith. And so we look forward to Fontwell. Okay, let's unleash the next one. So don't forget, when you're at home, you can always fast forward this. You don't have to watch the whole of this, because it can drag on. I remember going to Paul Nicholls' open day a couple of years ago, and there's 80 horses I think they showed. And it can just drag on a bit, especially if you're not a drinker. So good old Press Your Luck here with Lily. Now Press Your Luck, he'd be one that really is catching my eye at the moment. Standing on those gallops. I'm a big fan of this horse actually. A lovely type, and he's got, to be quite honest, I've got quite a few doyens, and some of them are just not quite right in the head. They're a little bit buzzy. This guy does seem to be quite solid temperament, and he's a lovely type of horse actually. Lily, just walk him around actually. So I gave him one run. He's a winner of an Irish point-to-point, and I gave him the one run at at Kempton with Leighton Aspelon, and Leighton was fourth. Joe, Velma, don't film Velma. And can one of you crazy kids, can we have a fork, please? That would be, God's sake. Anyway, we can edit that bit, can't we? Bad dog. Anyway, so she was. He was fifth. So he's owned by three boys, and they thoroughly enjoy it. They do thoroughly enjoy their racing, and they're a very good gang of boys. And I'm just trying to get him. They took us out the other night, and so we've got Pete, Paul, and Tony, and I just would love to get them back into another one, and fingers crossed they will do. Anyway, so that's Press Your Luck, and he's a horse that I was going to go straight hurdling, and Tom just told me, no, you're mad, go run him in the bumper. He thinks he'll win the bumper, so we shall see. Okay, come on then, Jack. I'm rambling a bit too much, so I'm thinking about the Krispy Kreme donuts we're about to have and the pizza. So this isn't the biggest horse in the world, and God, I've forgotten his name. Horatio Starr, and his owner's not really very happy with me at the moment. But I've run him once in a flat race up at Newmarket this season. We gave him a little run, and I thought he ran all right. I phoned up the owner, who was disgraced with the way he ran, and I think he was going to be moved and taken to Brian Meehan. And But if the horse was a little bit jarred up, and I did phone him up and tell him the next day he was jarred up and left a message, but he didn't hear it, and he just phoned me up, didn't hear his message. So I don't know what he's still doing here. I don't know if he's going to be taken away or, but we shall see. Anyway, I'll be very happy with his first run, and the jar's sort of gone out of him. I don't know if we're going to kick on. Anyway, I think we can put him away, Jack. We better speak to the owner and see what he wants to do. Okay, that's lovely. Jack, that's grand. Good boy. Anyway, so this is Shut the Box. So he's headed by Richard Cheshire, who's got him in a syndicate with some of his colleagues and things. So who love a drink, especially Eddie. Anyway, so Shut the Box. He won him on a novice hurdle last year, and he was God. He looked like he's going to go the right way. It's the end of the previous season. Ran him first time out this year at Fontwell, and he finished third in a novice with a penalty. The form worked out pretty well in that, and I did a typical trainer's mistake. I ran him at Sandown in bottomless ground. I shouldn't have run him, and I did, and it made him think a hell of a lot in a negative way. Leighton just said he absolutely hated the ground. And so after that, we've had a few runs and trying to get him back together. We will go novice chaser, novice handicap chasing. So he's 114. So he's a lovely, lovely type of horse, those. And that's what I say about some of the doyens. He's just, I ran him once in the wrong ground and he just came back hating it. Changed his whole attitude. And so you've got to be treated with kid gloves, I think. That's how I'm finding them at the moment. But it's interesting anyway. It's not just the side. You've also got the muzzers you must take into consideration. But I've just had a few like that. But anyway, he jumps beautifully, and fingers crossed we can find our form again in a little novice handicap chase. We have to run him in a novice handicap chase. You can also run a straight novice, but if you run, he's a 114 horse, and he'll come across a horse like Highway 102, who's 146. So you're straight away you're giving your horse a huge disadvantage. Just buffoons do that, or have to do that. But we shall see. We'll probably find a little novice handicap. And once you've run in one novice handicap, you can run in an ordinary handicap chase. So you can run against very experienced horses. But once you've had that one run, it does open the whole thing up. It just can be a bit of a bore trying to find a novice handicap chase without having to travel for miles. Anyway, now this is Dan Dennis's horse, Storm Dennis, which he's got a smashing name to him, actually. He's very likeable, taught by Libertarian. He's only 4, and he was due to run on a day, but it was all called off due to COVID. God, I'm sick of that word. Anyway, so he was due to run that day, all called off, and so he went out in the field. It's a long break. He will come back in. We will probably be running him towards the end of October. But lovely type, good attitude. Fingers crossed, we've got a nice horse there. Ramats Grand, lovely. I imagine we must be getting towards halfway. Right, that's great. Come on then, Lorna, let's pull the next one out. Right, so this is good old Really Radical. We've got the two horses, which you'll see actually. The next one, they're very, very similar type, same colour, and I can get confused sometimes because it's owned by the same lady, who's Betty Chandler, and Betty's 92 years old. And she's pretty amazing. She's still sexually active, which is fantastic. 92 years old, extraordinary. And she just loves to go racing and have a good time. And I want to get her racing and have a good time. And we went to Fontwell last week, and we're struggling. We're leaning over the rails, and we can't really talk to each other. And her attitude would be very much, God, we got to get on. We really have, and I'm terrified about losing owners like that who have horses to enjoy it. And if they can't go to races and have a fun time, what is the point sometimes, But anyway, I'm not going to bang on too much about this. This is Really Radical. He had the one run last year. He had a few runs last year, but his very first run, he went in a novice handicap chase at Fontwell, which is the same race that Top Man's aimed to go for. That's Grand Lawn leading round, actually. He's a real nice type of horse, actually. And I just think we had a really, really hard run that particular day. And Tom made a bit of a mistake, the horse made a mistake. We went back about 5 lengths, maybe 6 lengths out the back. And Tom got a wee bit angry with him, woke him back up, flew through, got beaten a short head. And if he'd won, brilliant, whatever. But it was his first run, and he just had a very, very tough race mentally first time out. And he's just got a little bit quirky after that. Actually, last time he ran, went to Kempton, and He pulled a muscle quite badly, actually. He's in a terrible state afterwards. But now we've had a nice time. We're all back on gear, and we will be due to run most of these horses in October. Beginning of October. This is Commandant, who's owned by Betty again, a 92-year-old sexually active owner of mine, who's and she's great. I've known her for a very long time. When I was at Charing, bumming around in the point-to-points, whenever I came out, she handed me the saddle cloth for the numbers. So I've known her a long time, so it's great she's with us. And this is a horse to have one run down at Fontwell. He'll go to Plumpton. He'll go to Plumpton on 20th. 20th, there's a little race for him down there. And don't worry, just walk him around a minute. And anyway, Brendan Powell recommended him. He came from Joseph O'Brien. He's tough sound horses, and he won a couple of times in Ireland. And I just wanted to get, Betty was very, very keen on it's Sammy Bear, actually, a young horse, but who hadn't run. I just, come on, he's 92, we need a horse we can get on and have some fun with. So he hopefully go to Plumpton, and he'll have a good chance, fingers crossed. Okay, so this is Jacqueline at Baddesley Knight. So Baddesley Knight, you saw his sister earlier on, Diane, the full sister, very similar type. One's a boy, one's a girl, that's your difference. So you see a lovely big type of horse he is, pretty self-like, everything's in the right place with him. And he's one of the biggest strength is he's a wonderful jumper. And a real joy from the first day we ran him over a fence, but he won his bumpers, he won his novice hurdle, and then off we went chasing last year. He was second to a very good horse in a straight novice up at Market Raise, and went and won at Wincanton, and we just thought, it's all right, Jack, you can probably just turn him and grand. Oh yeah, Pratt, look at him. That's probably just fidget he is. And anyway, so we Wincanton, we bolted up that day. Well, won nicely, and then we went to Doncaster and we got beaten by a very smart horse, Dan Skelton's, and I think it was a 420 grander, which after it won its Irish point to point. So I can't think of the name of the horse, but it's a very good mare. And but we bled that day at Doncaster. We came back with a bit of a bleed, which is at the end of the day, worse things happen. But and as it was, it's great. That's one good thing about COVID. A lot of these horses with little issues had a nice break, and but no, a lovely type of horse. And we're 138. We're due to go to Newton Abbot, I think, on the 28th, ground depending, and for a 2 mile and 0 to 140. And right at this precise moment, things change in our game very, very quickly. I can't wait to run him. He's in right good order, and he's healthy and well, and flying up the gallops and jumping like a stag. Now, this is Di leading up Mount Windsor. So Di, we'll interview Di in a minute for the camera. But we've got, this is Little Mount Windsor. He's headed by Syndicate, Bill and Jill run. Bill and Jill are great supporters of ours, been with us a long time. We don't go into buying really expensive horses, but just fun horses, and this one was a little fun horse. It actually went and won 2 bumpers, which is grand. And so anyway, so not many of you might not have seen. So Di used to be, well, he still is. He's still Di Tegg, and so anybody watching would remember his name from the past. He rode in the 40s and 50s, and anyway, so Di actually had a real bad head bang. I think it was a week before he rode Flaky Dove, wasn't it, Di? Yeah.
2 days before, yeah.
2 days before.
Yes, 2 days.
Who's the best trainer in Hampshire, Di?
Oh, it's got to be Chris Gorden, isn't it?
He's the only trainer in Hampshire. But no, anyway, this Di rides his horse every day. He's done a lot of work on it. He's a bit of a prat of a horse at the end of the day. He's very, very keen, and he's really, really keen. But at least he's won a couple of bumpers. But he's just on it. He's on it. And Di's done a good job settling him. I think we're rated 103, this particular horse, and I think he should be capable of winning off this. He certainly should be capable, actually. So fingers crossed we get out there, and Bill and Jill, and I think the party people, isn't it? The party people. So when they have a winner, they all conga into their winner's enclosure with dialysis machines and everything. So it's They've got a few issues, but it's great they get out there and they really enjoy their days racing. So, which is great to have. Anyway, that's Grand Dice. So that's good old Mount Windsor. He's only a 5-year-old, so look, fingers crossed. I do really want to win a race with that horse this year. Now, Carly's leading up. Blame the game. So now Martin, who's got quite a few, he's had some very smart horses with Paul Nichols, including Dodging Bullets. So Izzy, his daughter, works for us, and who's actually taken a few pictures today. So Izzy might be sending you some of these pictures. We're putting them on the internet so you can all see nice pictures of your horses. This is what the whole idea is of today, and to watch this film. So, Blame the Game is a full brother to Spirit of the Games. Spirit of the Games, a nice horse of Dan Skelton's, who I think was roughly around the 150 mark. I think he was around the 150 mark, and he's but obviously a very decent horse. So this is a full brother. He ran once in an Irish point to point and finished 4th or 5th. It was a really nice run. And when the lockdown happened, Donica Doyle, who I would deal with a lot, and he's been very straight. I have John Costello be my number 1, and Donica Doyle will be my close number 2, actually. Great guys to deal with. And Donica quite often just sends them over if he thinks they will suit me. They're horses that haven't gone and won an Irish point to point and gone off to Cheltenham themselves for vast amounts of money, but they're horses that are sort of under the radar. And I've had so many of them, and you might see Smurf Yankee, Prez on the slopes, and to name just a few of them. But hopefully we've got a nice one here. He's a nice type of horse, as you can see. And fingers crossed. He had a bit of jollop, or is that him today? No, he has no jollop. He's very laid back, actually. He's taking it really, really well. Sometimes the horses only run once. You suddenly hear a bit of commentary, and they can get very, very buzzy. And but no, the boy's taking it well. And I don't know if we've just started the working side for these winter horses. So literally just started working. We're going to have to see how the working goes to see if we run in a bumper. If we're not quite quick enough for one of those, we will run him in straight off over hurdles. But this next month will tell us really which direction we'll go. This is Kira leading up Pazvolsky. Now Pazvolsky is also from Donica Doyle. He came in the batch at Blame the Game came in, and he's a 5-year-old with a couple of bits of form on him, actually. He's run about 6 times. He's tough and hardy. And he was 3rd in his first Irish point to point. And I think if they sold him after that, he probably would have sold very well at sales. But they kicked on and ran him a few more times. He's a 5-year-old now. So he's a nice type of horse. And as it is, I'm syndicating this horse. So any of your owners sitting at home and any of the supporters watching our little tape now, and you want an interest in a horse, we're cut this horse into 10, I think, and I think about 3, 4, maybe 5 shares are sold. So there are bits and pieces. It'd just be good, tough entertainment. This, so that's grand. That's Pawlowski. But if anyone's interested, please just email me, and I will forward it on to Luke Axelberg, who's running for Syndicate, and he will be in touch with you. But that's smashing. Thank you, Kira. That's lovely. Get involved. Have a little go on a nice horse like that. It could be a lot of fun, actually. I might even have a share myself. Okay, let's unleash the next one. Oh, we've got this horse's bad side. He's got an ugly old eye on him. So this guy came in the same batch as those other two. So it's not my typical type of horse, but he came over with Blame the Game, Pazvolsky. Oh, you big dopey bugger. See, he's tripping up just walking around here. But he's actually by Yates. He's out of a mare, the mare, Vidam. Vidam's sister bred Punjabi, champion hurdle winner. So he's got a nice pedigree on him. And he's actually got 2 bits of these, ran 3 times. And he's got his first 2 runs were decent. He's got decent form on him, this horse. So he's gone in with, I think, Dan Dennis and Anthony Ward Thomas own him together. And they both have a lot in common. They both like young girls, and they love racing. So they've gone in for this. And I tell you what, actually, the one thing I would like is little B around. Maisie, can I have little B? I'm allowed the odd person here. And a lot of people do ask me about how Dan and Maisie's child, and they wouldn't have seen it wouldn't have seen the baby during lockdowns. Come on, Maisie, come and show B to the television, so everyone can see. She's actually, I can have her. Oh, hello, B. Hello, B. Look at you. She's actually a great little kid, and Freddie's going to have a lot of fun. Freddie, my son, is going to have a lot of fun with her in a few years' time. So, old Dan will be shutting her up in his room. Anyway, so there we are. This is little B, and I tell you, Betty's actually always asking about B. So there we go, Betty. And hopefully when we get to the races and we're allowed to mix and have a little drink together, B will be there with us. You can give her a cuddle because she's a great little child. She can't walk yet. She's a little bit backwards. Dan was about 7 before he learnt to walk. But anyway, there we go. And I'm going to hand her to Mrs. Gorden now.
She will start crying.
She will start crying now. There's not much maternal instinct with Mrs. Gorden. And anyway, so straight swap. So this is him, and he's gone and run a couple of times nicely in his Irish point to points. So we will just, now we're working him, he does jump very well in the school, whether we go for a bumper or whether we're going to have to find a trip over hurdles, which will suit him. But in this month we will sort of be able to find that out. So that's good old straight swap, only a 5-year-old, and fingers crossed. Okay, let's unleash the next beast. Okay, yeah, this is Sky Full of Stars, owned by Les Gilbert, and he's also owned by a very naughty man. I'm not going to mention his name. He's actually, I thought he was a bloody good mate of mine, but he hasn't paid his bills for an incredibly long time, and actually I'm really getting quite fed up with it. So he owns Bremerluck with Les and another horse, and he's actually just taking a mickey out of myself and my wife and my son, and basically absolutely fucking up our business. But there we are, and but hopefully we're gonna. Jen, you must remind me. We must get a solicitor onto him. Actually, he's just really taking a mickey. We're probably 20 grand in, and he's a guy that I thought a world of, and I love having a drink with him. But people that don't pay their bills, to hell with them. So this is Sky, and he's been brilliant for Les, and he just got beaten a short head the last time he ran down at Fontwell last year. I think he won a couple the time before. He doesn't find life particularly easy anymore. He's got quite a few miles on the clock, and this is the sort of horse I would have started training with. We've been going sort of 13 years. In November would have been our first runner, and going off to sales and trying to buy 90 rated horses and getting the odd win here and there. Les actually at the end of the day he has a massive passion for Fontwell, his red and white colours, and all he really wants to do is go to Fontwell, and I can understand that. It gets a little bit frustrating at times, but I can understand it. It's what he has. He has his boxer, and him and Jan have been going there for so many years now. So anyway, if I can keep this boy in one piece, and hopefully we can have a little bit more fun with Sky. But it is tricky buying horses that have been in a couple of other people's hands, and they're getting rid of them for a reason, and just trying to keep these lads in one piece. So that's Sky. Thanks, Lily. Okay. Here comes my son. So now Freddie, he is a lazy little bugger when he's here at home with his mum and dad, and he's driving me mad at the moment. But what he has been during the summer is going off, and he's been riding for Alan King. He's had a week with him, a week with Kingy, and he's had several weeks at Andrew Baldwin's. He's been staying there, and to be honest, they haven't faulted him, and they seem to really enjoy having him there. And I thank them enormously, because he's 14 years old, and at that age it's such an opportunity, and he's a very lucky little man. And one day when we get rid of that fucking Xbox, whoever invented Xboxes, Christ, I'd like to do some dreadful things to him. Not sexually, but I'd like to do some dreadful things to him and get rid of Xboxes forever. Fred, you can lead him round one more. So I'm talking about you, son. I'm talking about you. So so Freddie actually has been running for 2 years, and he's getting so much better. He's improving all the time. And somewhere like Baldwin's, you go there. The problem is with way people ride nowadays. There's not many very good riders out there. It's about 2% of people can really actually ride when it comes down to it. And if you went and stood at Newmarket and Lambourne, these guys are come out of racing school. They can get from A to B, A to B, A to B, and that's it. And riding skills are pretty appalling. If you suddenly said, "Right, my boy, let's go and off in 5 miles that direction, take whatever's coming," they wouldn't have a clue what's going on. But you go to somewhere like Andrews, and my God, they really look after you. And it's quite an elitist place, and the standard there of riding is exceptional. And it's great when he stays in the dormitory there. If they don't look after their bedroom, he finds them and bits and pieces like that, which is good. It's a bloody good upbringing, and it's the best way to get manners on these children. Now, this is a lovely old horse, Vincenzo Mio. Paul told me I think he was 300,000 when they bought him from France, and he's a good old stick for Paul. He went and damaged his tendons. Look at him; he's actually like a little bull, isn't he? But he's a lovely, lovely type of horse. But if I saw him at the sales, I think, God, is that a thoroughbred? I think there's something else in him. He ploughs through the mud. He's got a lovely big shoulder on him, and but you can see we've got when he touched a leg with Paul, he's been fired, and he's been actually as sound as a pound since. But I would only run him in very soft conditions. God, he retains his weight, this horse. But I could see him doing very well in the show ring, actually, in another life after this. And so he's into our racing club now. And maybe Freddie be having a few spins on him, not obviously this season, but the following season. We shall see. And God, you wouldn't want him to flip over on top of your son going over a fence. But there we go. So that's Vincenzo Mio and the son, Freddie. We don't know what sexuality Freddie is at the moment. I think, was it a fluid gender? What do they call it, Fred? What about sexuality you're on about? Is it a fluid something? You could swing both ways from day to day, which is fantastic. You've got so many different options then. Got to keep your options open in life. It's wonderful. Anyway, so good old Ram leading up 2 minutes Turkish. 2 minutes Turkish is, well, Tom Howell's got Al Skills, and there's quite a few boys in this. He's a marler, and as I said to you about other marlers you've seen, they're long. They're long. They just have that extra rib. And but he's a very nice self-like horse, and he's had the one run in a bumper at Newbury last year. He ran a smashing race. So as I said, mine are not keyed up for bumpers. I want him to go and have a nice time first time out. We do one more circuit with him. And we had Leighton Aspel rode him, who's Leighton's just gives him, well, he did now, sadly he's retired, this silly sod. It's such a shame because he's such a lovely rider. And you couldn't get anyone to give a bumper horse a better introduction as far as I was concerned. And just nice and easy, lovely introduction. And but anyway, and then we went to Huntingdon after that, and it was bottomless by the time he ran. And he's not a bad moving horse. And he just didn't enjoy it. He still ran up well over 100. I think he's got up a racing post rating of 111, which would win you a few bumpers elsewhere, you know. So that's 2 minutes Turkish. He will go in a novice hurdle now. He jumps, I think Tom would, out of all, we were saying the other day, he's electric, this horse, which sometimes you won't see over hurdles so much. They go a bit blasé, some horses, and he might be one of those. But when he gets to that fencing, which Lord Baddesley would be very same. I haven't actually in much the same bracket, these two. Don't think he's had the rubber of the green, this horse. So when he ran in his bumper, I quite often just take him to Lambourne for one little trip. Just so they can get away a bit. And I just said, look, sod it, we'll go for a nice day at Newbury instead, which is close to Lambourne, just up the road. And he was a horse that would lose a lot of weight if I took him somewhere, even if we just do a very little bit at Lambourne, just take him away. He's a horse that, you look at him now, and I'm really happy with the way he looks. But he can lose weight literally overnight. So that's 2 minutes Turkish. His dam was, that's good, Ram. His dam was a half-sister to Racing Demon, a good horse of Henrietta Knight's. Hen, she's brilliant to us as well. So we have a lot of horses in the summer at Moppy Beats, and Hen has quite a few, and they come back from her looking amazing. And I'd like nothing better to go up there for a nice little lunch with her, actually. She looks after me well. Nice bit of food and puts a few drinks into me, which is smashing. Now, this is a nice horse. Well, he's shown he's a nice horse here. So this is owned by actually Brenda Ansell's niece, Jane Goddard. It's great to have her in the yard. I would have known them for years and years and years. And she's come in. I sold her this horse, Smurfy Enki. So Smurfy came to us from Donegal Doyle. He sent him over, and he'd been beaten in quite a few point-to-points. Well, when I say I have four, he'd run once or twice okay, but it's just one of those things where, say he'd won first time out, he would have gone to the sales, and he was a £40,000 Derby horse, I think, as a store, as an unbroken 3-year-old. But it hadn't worked out. You know, these guys with the big egos and their big money, they want to buy the promise. And if they'd gone and if he got him one first time out, they'd be here at Cheltenham themselves, putting their hands up. So anyway, for us he was smashing. For us he was, because he went and got beat. Donica sent him to us, and I sold him to 35,000 to Jane. About 2 weeks later, he ran in a bumper at Wincanton and bolted it. I think he won by 20 lengths. And I probably would be able to sell him for about 150 after that. So if I'd kept him, could have gone the cruise, could have done anything, love, couldn't we? Well, you could have got yourself a young buck, I could have got myself a young girl, and would have been amazing times. But so anyway, that is good old Smurfy Enki. So I might just go and run him in a smart bumper in the mud. He ploughed through it at Wincanton when he won. So I might just wait there's a Cheltenham bumper, which would be a real interesting one. If it came up, we bucketed down last year, and it was bottomless, a race on the day. I'd love to go for something like that. And when they've had a few runs in their Irish point-to-points too, they're just a bit harder and wiser to it. I wouldn't, if he's an unraced tour, not if he's unraced, but if he had 1 or 2 bumpers for me, it wouldn't appeal to me going to Cheltenham. I'm trying to make a horse last a career. I'm not doing it for today. But as he's hardened, you go there and go and have some fun, hopefully. Go and have some fun. But a little bit ground dependent, that horse. Anyway, so we're on to Brother Windsor now. So Brother Windsor is Mount Windsor's half-brother. Now, Mount Windsor was a little chap you saw early on. Its die was leading up, rated 103, but won his 2 bumpers. This is a half-brother which he was 4. I think he was ready to run in the spring until we got stopped. And so we're just back going again. We pulled a muscle in his quarters. It's actually only 10 days ago. So we're back, and we're back cantering. And he's a nice little horse. And you know, we're not the biggest in the world. Would he jump a fence? Probably not. But when you're on a limited budget, and if say he was 6 inches tall, 4 inches tall, or whatever, and he looked like he'd jump a fence, he would obviously have been a lot more money. So hopefully we'll have fun in bumpers and hurdles, and fingers crossed. Anyway, so that's Brother Windsor. Okay. Jen, can I have a beer, please? Thanks. Okay, no, but actually just there's one more in this corner stable. I don't know if the camera can tilt round for the grey horse in the corner. That's Ramor Will. And poor old Ramor Will, I think he's won about 6 races for us. And he's owned by John and Anne Farrant, who, John and Anne, if it wasn't for John and Anne, I worked for them for 13 years, and for Anne Blaker, I wouldn't be here. And those guys would be the ones I've got to thank the most for my life, the existence I have, because they were great for me and gave me a good education all the way through. But sadly, this is their horse, and I've broken it. I ran it at Fontwell, and he's gone and got a touch of a leg, which is a real shame, and I hate it. But in this game we have a lot of injuries. But for John and Anne, I know how much fun we generally have racing, and known them since I was 17 years old, and they employed me for 13 years, which is quite amazing, really. Yeah, because I was a lunatic back then. So no, I just it's a bugger, but I've broken him. So there we are. That's what summer jumping does to some of these. That's why I try and avoid it like the plague. I don't know how anyone just keeps doing it and keeps running these horses. But there we are. There we are. I don't know. Don't understand it. Right, this is Be Daring. B. Darren was one of Paul Nicholls' old horses. I think he was very expensive when they initially bought him. He was owned by John Hales, I think, who really likes grey horses. And but he's owned by Les Gilbert now, and Julian. So hopefully we had a suspensory injury, so he missed last year. Had a lot of sarcoids just taken off him as well, and so we're back going again. And so when you come back from a suspensory ligament, we just build them up very, very slowly. He's doing lots of slow cantering, and you'll see him certainly on this side of Christmas in the mud around Fontwell. So that'll be good old B. Daring, and fingers crossed for him. Cheers, tight. Right, let's unleash another one. Okay, so now Lorna's leading up. Not now Indian. This is a bloody great big thing. So not now Indian. We've actually had a lot of issues with this horse. What I'm actually pleased about is he's actually looking better and better. He's coming up together, but when he stands up, you can just see he is a whopper, this horse. Lorna is a very tall girl. She's got the most amazing legs, Lorna, haven't you? Could have been a model in a different world here. But luckily, you've given yourself to horses, which is fantastic. Anyway, this guy, so we trained its mother. And the mother was, I'm going to stand into this horse, you can see him. Good boy. No, he's an absolute whopper. Luckily, he's got a fair bit of bone to go with it. But we had the mother, and the mother was no size. I don't know how she produced this. The mother was 15-1, I think, little flat horse. And she ran okay for us, and she got handicapped and had a condylar fracture. And he's by Indian Danehill, and this is, he is a whopper. So when he turned up, Richard actually gave me quarter for him, so I'm actually lumbered with quarter. Chris Edwards has got a quarter, and I think we might even have a third each. I don't know. So the plan is to go and win a bump with this and sell it for millions. Whether we can do this is another thing. But no, he's a nice big horse. He was very difficult when we got him. He's got a very sort of cold back, so when you get on him, he drops you, and he drops you very, very quickly. Luckily, I have not sacrificed myself yet. So we put little Irish guys on him, or little Hampshire boys. So Jack and Nath quite often get on him. But I sent him off down to Gary Witherford, Gary and his son Craig, who deal with problem horses. And they had him for 2 or 3 weeks, and they've sorted him out now, and we're away. Actually, funny enough, I do want to get this horse in the school and put Louise, who's one of our riders, has been with us for years, and an educated rider, shall we say, and she does lots of schooling for us. And now I think we're safe to get her on. She's older than me, but she does a beautiful job. And now she's, I want to get her in the school on this. Now he's a safe ride. But see, he's a sweet horse. It's just literally when you get on him, and I've seen him drop so many people. But Gary and Craig sorted him out, and off we go. I don't know what it's going to be like when we get to the races, and we put a half a pound saddle on his back. We're going to have a little practice with him, and so we'll see. Fingers crossed. So that's not now Indian. Thanks, Lorna. Lorna came through she was at Spa Schultz College. So I think you did 3 years there, and she's an AI, which is a assistant instructor, I think, and she just works on the yard and in the Black Barn. But she's a great asset for us. She lives here as well, and I must say, got a really good bunch of staff, and then a real good team of them, and they can all ride to a pretty good standard. For La Fou Royale. La Fou Royale is owned by Brenda. Brenda had the Tin Miner, which we saw earlier on. So I've got quite a tough task myself. Me and La Fou Royale's got a tough task. I think he's won a point to point. He's not the youngest in the world, and he's come to us with a leg from the last time he ran the point to point. If it wasn't for Brenda, I'd probably, he's a horse that I'd know how tough it is, but I've taken it in, but she's a wonderful woman, and we've taken the horse on. So what's difficult for him is he's got to go, and he's not good enough, I know it sounds blunt, but he's not good enough to go and win a novice. So when you go in a novice chase, you're going to meet 140, 150 rated horses. Lovely hurdles, and we have to run them 3 times a horse like this because he's never run under rules. He's got to run 3 times to get a handicap mark. So he will have to run in 3 novice hurdles, and then we go novice handicap chasing. After you've run in 3 hurdles, the handicap is probably going to give you a mark 20% higher than it is. You're almost talking about 5 runs before you got a realistic chance. So anyway, so that's a tough job for us all, but we will certainly try. I'd love to have another winner for Brenda, and we will certainly try to do it. So here's Ram leading up Telegraph Place. Telegraph Place is Kathy Babies and Les Gilbert's, and I'll be quite honest with you. I wish I hadn't seen him now. I'm struggling with him to win a race. Nathan rode him the other day, gave him a nice ride, and like all of ours, anybody that watches our horses, which hopefully you all do, they've all needed the run. And it's such a strong pattern. We ran a couple yesterday which both needed it. They've run well and respectably, but I don't quite know. It's just the way it is sometimes. And I'll bet in on the surface of the gallop. It's settled down. It's riding beautifully. Last year it was new, and it was harder work for horses. I think they find it very, very easy, and we're just going to need a run, which I don't mind. I love a horse having a run and coming on for it. I prefer it than the other way. Oven ready, because we've got a long season now. We've got a long season to go. So he travelled very well into it. The bottom bed of the front when he blew up, and he blew up very quickly. But I saw him at Ascot, and he'd been with Gorden Elliott. Gorden tried to win a point-to-point with him, and he ended up pulling up. And then he went to Ollie Murphy when Ollie started training. He did win a novice hurdle down at Utoxeter, and I bought him afterwards. For about 10 or 12 grand, I think. And so I don't know, Ollie, the day I bought him, Ollie just said, oh, by the way, he might windsuck. One of the girls had just told me at the sales. And I must say, he's the worst windsucker I've ever had. And the windsuckers, they can have stomach ulcers, and it's a bit of a knock-on effect, you know. So anyway, I do struggle with Telegraph Place. I'd love to win a little race for Kathy and Les, and hopefully that will happen. But I'll give him. Well, with Les the other day, we just said we're going to give him 1 or 2 more chances, and then we'll move him on. But what he is, he's a lovely horse at doing other things. I rode him actually in a cross-country schooling we went the other day and took him, and he's a wonderful jumper. So, fingers crossed. Right, I always knock Jimmy. I'm allowed to knock Jimmy because he's half mine. He's half mine and Jen's with Les Gilbert. We bred him together, and it's extraordinary, that breeding thing. You know, I think we bred 4 foals together. I think it was 4. 3 of them died. One was stillborn. One died after a month at stud. And anyway, we've ended up with Jimmy. And Jimmy, I honestly couldn't give you 50 quid for him at Ascot Sales, but he's gone and won a couple of races. Confirmation thought he'd be very slack in his old pasterns, which, funny enough, when you're riding a horse slack in his pasterns, they work as just shock absorbers almost. They can actually give you a very comfortable ride. And a lot of flat horses are like that. But when it becomes to jumps, it's hard. We're trying to keep these horses sound. So he's very straight through his horse, and I'm allowed to say that because I own half of him. I can't grab other people's horses, even though I bought 99% of them. But as it is, Jimmy's been grand, and he's a winner of 2 races, and he has whistled for England, this horse. So if you stand and hear him going up the gallops, he whistles. And it's what basically is when the larynx isn't symmetrical, and it's not coming back when they're breathing. And so we've just had a hob day, and he's been cauterized as well. So anyway, Jimmy will probably be around forever now. And yeah, God, one of the worst things, he's a bad windsucker. And the year he's with Lily, you nearly fired then. You got 1 more week of being a good girl. Oh, it could have been awful. It would have been dreadful if Jimmy had run off and gone onto the road and killed himself. And anyway, he's given me and Les some good days, but he's been hob-dayed and cauterized. Hopefully that will just improve him. just improve him. Not too much because we've got to keep him sound as well. So let's hope he doesn't go fast and his wheels will allow him. But that's Jimmy. He's very self-like. He's a windsucker. He's probably got stomach ulcers as well. We can't afford to give him GastroGuard. But Lily, that's grand. That's grand. Thanks very much. We're nearly there, okay? We don't forget you guys at home can fast forward. Right, here's a good old boy. This is Comanche Red. Comanche is owned by Richard and Carol Cheshire. Richard and Carol Cheshire of Krispy Kreme Donuts. I forgot to mention that. And I must say, if any of you, when you're watching a video at home, fancy a snack, you must go out and get some Krispy Kreme donuts because they're very tasty and good for you. And the more you eat, the more horses I can have. So anyway, they came into it 2 years ago, 3 years ago maybe. Great supporters of ours, and this is one of the very first horses we bought. We bought Buttersley Knight from the Costellos and Comanche Red for the first two horses, and one's a 138 chaser, and I'm looking forward to running off 138, which means a lot. And this is a 150 rated chaser, which is fantastic. It's two horses. Have ended up real good, solid, proper horses, which people pay hundreds of thousands of pounds for horses like this. So anyway, and I think I'm allowed to stay. Richard won't mind, but he was a £45,000 horse. So he's won at Kempton on Boxing Day, and I'll tell you what, we're just spinning him around again, Anna. One at Kempton on Boxing Day, which is a great day. I had to watch it at Fontwell on television, and so that was smashing. And after that, he ran in the Grade 2 at Kempton on one of the last. It's a day that Highway 102 won there. He was actually favourite for the race, and I had people that are making excuses afterwards. But the one thing with this horse, he finished third, beaten 10 lengths. His jumping wasn't the same, and when he came back in, he'd put the toe clips. He'd moved his shoe back and the toe clips were stuck in his foot. So he had claret coming out of his feet where the toe clips had gone in and was obviously very, very uncomfortable. So I think we've got an excuse why. Whether we would have won or not is another thing. But we shall see. We shall see. And anyway, but he's a 150 rated horse. Things are going to be tough. 150 is no hiding places. He'll be looking at very smart race at maybe Ascot. I've got Ascot in my head. Here's the Badger Ales at the same sort of time, but Ascot would be a nice place to go. And we can see if he can live up to being a 150 rated horse. But only time will tell, and we've just got to see how the work goes this year. But he's a lovely horse. But he's by Marla, and you've all seen that again. See, a little bit long. But it's a gorgeous horse. Lovely, lovely horse. Okay, Anna, that's smashing. I must say Simon rides him every day on the whole, and when he's fresh, his horse, he can certainly cut a few shapes. Do you know, for myself and Jen though, it's just lovely being able to get these lovely unbroken horses that we can do ourselves, and it just changes the game and it makes life so much more interesting. So our average price 4 years ago was £8,000 in our yard, and now I think it must be about 27, I think, and it's made a huge difference. It's just great going off to races with decent horses and a decent chance. Right, so we have Baddesley here. He's another lovely young horse. Clara absolutely adores his horse, and she rides him basically every day. I did used to ride this horse all the time, but I used to watch on the gallops, and I think he's just got a bit wound up, and he's had stomach ulcer problems, and this would be the worst one that we've had with stomach ulcers. And Malcolm Morley, who's our great vet from Stable Close, who's a most wonderful vet, and he's been with us all the way through. But he came down, stomach scoped him, and he was riddled with ulcers. He's after he won his bumper at Fontwell. So he's on GastroGuard. We have to have a lot of that. But a real nice type. I bought him from the sales in Ireland. Richard was very, very keen on me buying a Doyen that day, and I couldn't find a nice Doyen. And luckily, I bumped into this fella who's by presenting, and anyway, he came out and he was second in his first bumper, and then he won at Fontwell Festival last year, and then he was fourth with a penalty at Wincanton. Was morally the highest rated horse, morally the winner if on a, but we had a penalty. We only just got beat, so I think he was a close fourth. So without penalty, we would have won. Yeah, one more chance. I think the boys love having a good look at Clara. No breast girth needed there, but anyway, so he will be going, fingers crossed, for a novice hurdle down at Fontwell. But what I wanted to say was when he was fourth at Wincanton, he came back with a broken pelvis. So last year I did not touch one leg on the racecourse last year. Not one leg injury, which is extraordinary, and he was bottomless ground. But what I did get was a couple of this horse with his broken pelvis, Cadmar with his broken knee, in bumpers. But it was extraordinary ground last year. But it just shows you I'd prefer certainly not doing tendons, but it's just it's funny. And I've run handful this year. I've had a couple of frights, and I've gone and broken down Ramel World. But it's dodgy summer jumping. Right, this is a good old horse. He would last 2 seconds summer jumping. This is Go Whatever, owned by Anthony Ward Thomas. I love this horse, actually. It's a proper old war horses. If I had to go into battle on one, I'd take him because he's quite slow as you're going into battle. I'd be at the back, which would be quite handy. But if it was really, really muddy, I might get to there in front, which wouldn't be very good. But he goes in an absolute bog, which is a bit strange because he's quite a nice mover going up the gallops. When you stand there and watch him, he's a nice moving horse. When you ride him, he gives you a completely different feel. And certainly in a race, I've seen him plough through Sandown, and when you plough through Sandown, you really go in the ground. So he was Irish pointer from Donica Doyle. I bought him privately over there, and he'd won in Irish pointer. He had quite a few goes, and he'd won. But I just loved the way he jumped, and I loved his attitude. Just gets on and gallops and goes. And then so he came out first time, and I ran him on pretty good to soft ground, and he looked so slow. And then we went with heavy ground to Plumpton in a novice. Me and Tom said, right, let's just unleash hell from a word go. And that's what he did, and he went and won nicely. And then we went for a little race a nice race at Sandown. He went and won there. And then we went for grade 3, and he was third, and he had a bad prep, but he ran a blinder in the grade 3, which was a 100 grand race. And then I was really excited about the EBF, even though it was only 2 mile 3. On the day the EBF was due to be run, which is the Saturday before Cheltenham, it was called off, and I just thought, God, on the Friday it was off, and I thought we're bound to have the EBF final because it's Imperial Cup that day, and it was absolutely bottomless. He thought, we've got to have it, it's Saturday, come on. And sadly they called it off, but he would have had a great chance that day. They ran it at Kempton the following week for the following Saturday, which is the Saturday that Cheltenham finishes. Anyway, I didn't even bother to run him because he'd be lapped round Kempton, complete waste of time for us all. So anyway, I'll go novice handicap chasing with him. He ran novice handicap chasing. We'll work our way from there. I just do have a little dream. We can lead him away, Carly. I want a pizza. I do have a dream that one day he might be a Welsh national horse, but I am normally wrong, so we shall see. All right, it's a nice horse of Dan's. We went over and bought him from Dan Dennis. So he bought him from John Costello. Typical John. We had a bit of a duff from him, which is an extremely rare thing. And he went and did us a deal on a nice young Scirocco. So this guy, he's got a lot of knee action like a lot of Sciroccos. He's only 4. My Sciroccos, it generally seems to take a bit of time to get there. We had 1 or 2 little issues with him last year, and he looks very much up together, but I've got a feeling he'd fall apart quite quickly if I ran him in a race. He's still quite weak at times. He slopes away a little bit behind. I think he's always going to be a wee bit like that. But I think he'd be, when we get there, he'll be running well in bumpers, in the mud. in the mud. You know, we are a winter horse, there's no doubt about it. But he's only 4, he's got a lot of time. Luckily, Dan's got a lot of time. Actually, we haven't got that much time, have we, Dan? Won't be long before the old crematorium calls us. But anyway, but hopefully he'll give us a bit of fun before we do. That's lovely, that's grand. And we haven't actually named him yet. I think we've come up with a couple of names when we've had a drink. And but we shall see. So, but hopefully he will be. Oh, maybe in November. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. But a lot of those youngsters like him, which do need a bit of time, they just suddenly can fall apart. You look at them and you think smashing, and they can just go. They can melt in front of your eyes. It's a good old stick, Highway 101. So I think he'd be your Jen, my wife, absolutely loves riding him. And you can't say favourites because other owners get all upset. But he would be, no, she loves riding this horse and she's done an awful lot of work with him. I've ridden him once or twice. I don't actually like riding a horse, to be quite honest. I just find he's a bit of a prat and he just gets on it. It does drive me mad with people about horses whenever they're good horses. I always go, oh, he's such a lovely horse. He's such a... They can be prats like we can as humans and things. And he'd be an absolute buffoon. If we took him for a little hack at a... If I took him for a day's hunting, I'd come back with blood all over my mouth and blood coming up my ears, and I'd have an awful time on him. He's just on it all the time, but he's a joy to watch when someone else is on him because he has great enthusiasm for life, shall we say. Well, let's just give him a little walk round. So anyway, he's a guy. He came from John Costello. He bolted up in his bumper, which was a real. I think he ran up to a mark of 126 in his bumper. It's quite extraordinary way he did it. And then I think he won 3 novice hurdles for us the following season. No, that season. And then went off not last year before chasing and won a couple of novice chases. And one was a 50 or 60 grander up at Carlisle. So he's been decent. Last year we I wouldn't say lost him at all actually. But, there's a couple of disappointments. His jumping went to pot a little bit. His confidence went. But we came back with a couple of decent runs where he ran up in the Racing Post ratings of where his best mark is. Of course, as a handicapper, we were up to 145. We're down to 140. And I think we should be very competitive. Well, we're very competitive of that. I've had a wind up with him, as with Baddesley Knight. Sorry if I didn't mention it earlier on. But they've been hobdayed and cauterised. And hopefully it will improve him. But he should have won at Kempton the day after Boxing Day, which I think was 32,000 to the winner. So that was disappointing. Jamie Moore rode him that day, and it's his first time over 3 miles. And I just wanted a wee bit of restraint, and sort of Jamie got in a rhythm and he was jumping from fence to fence, just got going a little, rolling on a bit too quick, shall we say. I think he was about 15 lengths clear going into the third last, and we got collared just before the line, which is a bit of a shame. And, you know, that's a lovely thing about having slightly higher rated horses. If you do get lucky enough to win a race off those sort of marks, they're going to pay for themselves. You know, that was 32 grand to the winner, but there we are. But he's paid for himself all the way through anyway, so lovely horse. That's good, thank you, Lorna. Here he comes. So this is Kira leading up her favourite horse on the slopes. So on the slopes is he's owned by Al Skills Scaffolding, one of the biggest southeast firms of scaffolders, and so he's slope. Was he rated about 143? He came from Donegal Doyle. He'd been disappointing Irish Point to Points. We actually bought him at the sales. Yeah, he's keep walking the bugger, yeah. For about 17 or 18 grand. And, you know, he's been a star. And what, with, oh, you bugger. You. Kira, I'll tell you what, keep him up that end. That gate's shut, isn't it? Right, I'll tell you what, everyone's seen him. That's on the slopes. Kira, that's lovely. Do you want to get on him? You might be able to put manners on top of him. So just that particular horse, talk about him for a second or two. Now, really confusing horses, long way from an exact science. If you ride him as a horse, he's a big lump and he gets nowhere in a hurry. And he doesn't look very impressive up the gallops. He looks like a big slow lump. He's got no mouth on him. He's an ignorant sod, and um, he fell over with me a couple of weeks ago. He spooked at a pigeon and actually fell over on top of me. And anyway, so I would look at that horse and say he wants 3 miles plus. Anyway, it turns out his last race was he won over 2 miles at Kempton. Time before that, it was 2 mile 2 round Kempton, and I think, God, where does that come from? And I think every jockey that rode him, just thought, God, he's stepping up, and we got him completely wrong. So he's a smart horse, and we missed the Grand Annual. We didn't get in there by 3 or 4 horses, and I think he's about fourth favourite for it. Be quite so. I'm not too fussed about missing the Grand Annual. It'd be lovely to go and have a runner at Cheltenham, but he's a novice. Scares the hell out of me. This year he'd be tough and hardy enough to probably go in it. And so anyway, went to Kempton. He won 2 nice races, then keep him walking around. And so that's on the slope. So I've got a Holden Gold Cup for him in my mind, but we shall see. Right, so this actually is my wife's now. Dan hates him. Dan really hates him. So and not as much as Gordon Elliott. Gordon Elliott paid 220,000 for this horse 2 years ago, and we ended up buying him for 10. But anyway, he's a horse that he doesn't really like racing much. So basically Jen's taking him on to replace sort of on how long's a foot. So she'll go off and do a little bit of cross country with him and Freddie well and things. We will give him the odd run for the crack, but just for an entertainment day, and maybe if one of the owner's horses has gone wrong and we can take them off for a day, run them in their colours or something like that. But anyway, we can. So he's got to do the odd fun day for us. But that we see that she's a really nice horse. I don't know if he's 200. Well, he wasn't 220 grand's worth. Don't forget you got your 8% on at the sales as well. But he did. I think he was one of the Donica Doyle's horses, and he bolted up in the point to point. But that's what these chaps are paying. So Invincible Cave, yeah. Just forget his name. Forget him. Anyway, that's lovely, Ram. That's lovely. Thank you. Right. Well, I think we must be getting there. This is Mellow Ben, who ran yesterday. He's owned by Tom Howes of Broadsword Boys. So anyway, good old Mellow Ben. He actually ran yesterday, and yeah, he's not a bad little horse. He's rated 140. Won 2 novice chases. He was a 125, 126, 127 horse over hurdles. Should have won at Kempton Boxing Day, I think, but there we are. That's another thing. He won a couple of races over hurdles. I bought him from Donica Doyle again. I paid 30 for him, and but he won a couple of nice races last year. He paid for himself last year. Decent race at the Fontmore Festival, and at Worcester he won with Leighton Aspelon. Excuse me. And got up to 145. He's down to 140 now. And just going back to yesterday with our horses just needing it. With his sort of a ground the way it is at the moment, he's very light-footed. This horse, he's good, not a bad moving horse. But I don't want him as a summer jumper, But anyway, it's nice. We went and had a run, given him a blow. But we must say, in this sort of ground, they don't let up. The pace of the races is flat to boards. So if you're actually running with a bit of, we'd say it was genuine soft ground there yesterday, the pace of the race is slightly less than so when a horse does blow up, you've got time just to refill them and keep going. If you blow up on this faster ground at the moment, you can't get back to them, and you lose your place, you lose your rhythm, and you just can't get back into it. But anyway, so he's 140, and hopefully they'll drop him a little bit for that. I'm sure they will. And we'll have some fun with him. Where we're rated. We can go for some nicer races. I've got a race he won at Fontwell in my mind, which is the 2 mile 5. It's not bad prize money at the Fontwell Festival. Oh, it's got hit the highway. Highway 101 that might go for that. But we'll see. Clara, that's lovely. Thanks very much. How many more have we got? We're so nearly there. This is Harefield, owned by Andy Charity. So Harefield, he's by Diane. big chasing type. Sadly, he struggles with fences. This horse. I ran him once over fences at Kempton. When Kingy had him, I think he ran over in 5 hurdle races and fell 3 times. Um, it's funny because he's a nicely balanced horse. If you rode him in a school, um, he had a little bit. He's a little bit weak behind, and when we ran a couple of weeks ago, and we just had to get the back man to his quarters. He just struggles a wee bit behind, but he's a lovely front on him actually, lovely front. Big, he's a good sit on, but he just sort of fades away a wee bit behind. And he ran in a chase at Kempton last year, and he just hasn't got the heart for it. If it's a human, you'd give him a whiskey mac, or you just would need a little bit of help, and a little whiskey mat would do the job. But I don't want to push horses into something they don't do, even though he's got the size and he's got the frame to do it. Just mentally, we haven't quite got it there with him. But he's a 1-3. He's 1-8. He's rated. He won for us at the Fontmore Festival last year, and we'll go back there for a 2-mile 3 race, a 0 to 140 over hurdles. So we'll keep him over hurdles. I'd say his ideal ground would be good to soft. He wouldn't want it too deep, that's for sure. We've done a lot of work on his jumping, and he's very, very happy jumping the hurdle. But if you put him over a fence, as I keep saying, it's just disappointing for Andy because he wanted a horse that was going to be a chaser, a future chaser. But I don't want to force the issue, but I think we can have fun with him over hurdles. Carly, that's lovely. Thank you. I'll tell you what, I've got bad news for you kids. They can't do the pizzas. We're going to have a little staff party after this, and with pizzas. And sadly, Domino's, for whatever reason, can't do it. Got an oven breakdown or something. Anyway, and then this is a good horse called Prez. So he's in a syndicate of 10 of us. I'm actually got a little share in him, I think. And Prez came from Donegal, and he's been fun. He's been great fun. He's rated 117. He's won 2 chases last year, which is his first season chasing. I think he's only 6. He's actually a really good moving horse, and it does surprise me. He seems to go through an absolute bogey. He won at Foss last. He's a real nice type of horses. The colour does affect how many people, what they do or don't look at. And he might be a bit of a wishy-washy colour to some people. If he was like a black stallion, you'd see, oh boy. But no, he's just a nice type of horse, Maybe a bit plain for some people, but I love him. So as a chaser, you'll see him hopefully this year, maybe the Southern National and the Sussex National, sort of Plumptons and Fontwells, and we can go for those. He seems to stay all day. 117 will get us into those races. Whether he's well handicapped at 117, we will see. But he fingers crossed. I just don't know. He's one of those that's never that flashy at home, but he just goes up with gallops, and he gets from A to B very, very well, as we'd say, and but without being flashy, and he jumps well, and he's solid. So if we can go off and find out where hopefully he's going to improve a little bit. We shall see. But no, it's just fun to have them to be able to go in those types of races, of course. So that's good old Prez. Do you like him, Mrs. Blaker? Yeah. You're very nice, the horse. I can see you doing side saddle on him, Anyway, so that's good old Prez. Yep. Just while we're on to that, so I've got a couple of horses that aren't here. I've just had 2 3-year-olds which we've been going with. One of Dan and Anthony's called Highway 103. So Highway 103 and Stanley Pinkham of Jane Southers, 2 really nice 3-year-olds from John Costello, and they've both just gone out for a month. They've had the flu jab, They've just been coughing a bit, the 3-year-olds, who pick up things a bit easier. So they've just gone down to Moppies for a month at grass, coming in the evenings. I'm looking forward to getting those back. Very, very nice 3-year-olds. And got Fizzlesticks, who's a winner for us last year at Plumpton. And he comes back. Camilla owns him. Petra, the daughter, I spoke to her the other day. He comes back tomorrow, I think. Yeah, which is great. which is great. So anyway, so that's three you wouldn't have seen. And anyway, so I'm banging on about something I shouldn't be. So we've got Lily holding Only Money. Only Money who ran yesterday. Only Money. To be honest, I was disappointed yesterday because I thought we were there and I thought we would just run a little bit better than we did, even though he wasn't, he finished just beaten for third. But he's a bit of a prat, this horse. He's just so keen. So yesterday I put a hood on him, hood, and Dexter, which is a very strong bit in his mouth. But I've sort of ridden him a lot myself the last 2 months. Jen sort of did the first month, I think, when he came in, and he's very, very difficult. We did lots with him in the school, and he's pulled a muscle in the past behind, and he's inclined to do it again and again at times. But if he's got out there yesterday, and I rode him in the hood the other day, and you can't do it too often because you want to surprise him. And I rode him up the hood, canted him up there, and he was gorgeous. I could have taken my hands off the reins. He was so settled. Brilliant. Take the hood off, smashing. Next time in the race, and he jumps off, and I think he did one furlong, wondering what was going on, and then he got so on it. Doesn't do himself any favours. So actually to run for the first time in 518 days or whatever it was, and as he needed it. So, but I'd just like to have seen him a wee bit closer. But that's Only Money, and he will go off over hurdles now. So, but he's another nice type of horse. Came from the Costellos, but he just does himself no favours. There we go. That's Only Money. Thank you, Lily. And now we get the next one. So Fizzlesticks is going to come back with 2 3-year-olds. I've got a feeling I've got a really nice horse that is actually for sale, being broken in by Chris and Claire Bonner. He's is it Diamond Boy? Diamond Boy with a nice pedigree. He was 18,000. Gives you a rough idea. It's basically when a trainer like myself buys one for 18,000, you have the expenses, which is obviously the sale ring, getting them back, being broken in, and whatever those costs, that's what you pay for the horse. And so right at this precise moment, he's probably standing in at 24,000, something like that. So he's been in, since I bought him myself, he's been in the breaking yard. But he would be a really nice horse, gorgeous horse. Haven't got him here yet, but if anyone's looking for an extra horse, there we go. There to be named. Right, Kira has got Baddesley Prince. So we've got quite a few Baddersleys, which Richard and Carol's, they can get very confusing, and I'm going to put one of them in the wrong race at some point or another. We just keep walking him, Kira. So Baddesley Prince, he's we had a little bit of, it's not bad luck, it's just, it's horses, it's racing, we're doing a sport which we're pushing him to the limits. And he had 3 races, got himself a handicap mark, and his first run was at Newbury, first proper run, shall we say, in the handicap. And he sort of fell, but I think he didn't go down easy enough. I think he tried to keep himself upright. His legs went everywhere, and he did a little ligament that goes into the foot. It's only nowadays with MRI scans with horses that they can see that. And it's a little ligament which the prognosis isn't brilliant. There's not huge amounts that come back and end up racing successfully. We all know that, and that's just the way it is. But he's £1 a pound at the moment. Me as a trainer, I've got to give that horse every opportunity to be able to get to the racetrack. So of course the workload is completely different. We start very slow, just slowly building them up, and but fingers crossed for him. He looked, finished sort of second in the novice down at Plumpton, and I was just thought, oh, lovely, and just a bit frustrating, but that's horses, and at least he's still with us, and fingers crossed, see how we go. Right, this is Jack with his beloved Aketios. So Aketios has just come back from Sarah Sampson and Anna's mother, who had him out at grass for the summer. He's literally just come back. Looks bloody well, actually. I haven't seen him. So he's picked up. I think we just got the shoes on. I don't think he's been ridden yet, and we're getting on with him this week. So you'll see Jack riding him in amateur races in probably 2.5, 3 months. We generally work on a horse from the field in 3 months for a jumper, and or ones that have run before anyway. But we might get there in 2.5 months. So Jack, we shall see. So we will have. Well, Jack's going to have great fun with him. Hopefully, hopefully, unless you fall off and get dragged, Jack. Might get dragged, which is very painful. But no, we get out there and have some fun. Right, how many more, Robbie? 3 more. 3 more. Oh, no. Anyway, just I hope you guys out there enjoy having a horse with me. But the one thing that I would love to ask, and COVID, it makes me feel very much like it with what's gone on. But if it was one day, but I would love just not to have anything, no communication. And I hope people can see the side of it. I've got a family, and I want to enjoy my family when I can, and be able to go out. But please don't ring me on a Sunday. That's one thing. It just, especially with a fucking problem. God, it drives me mad. But just Sundays, please, can they be sacred? I don't understand. I would have thought most people would feel like that, and I do find it quite extraordinary, especially as a child when you grow up, and the shops weren't open, and Sundays used to be great, and I love a Sunday when it can still be like that. So the problem with someone like myself, we are racing. We're working on a Sunday so often. So those one Sundays that we have off during the winter, God, just please let me get on with one day of peace. That's all. You can phone me up whenever you like. And I do get a little bit frustrated sometimes when people say I'm not a very good communicator and that I do not ring them up and tell them enough about their horse. It's because I'm a working trainer and I'm on a horse most days. I love riding horses, and that's a deal. That's what I like doing. That's what I enjoy about the whole thing, is riding out still. One day I won't be able to do that, and I'm dreading that day. But for right now, that's the way we do it. But if you just ring me, it's all I want. You ring me, and I'll always get in contact with you. But please don't get angry with me because I haven't rung you. Please just ring me, and I will get straight back to you that day. Oh dear, let's hopefully, and I bet that's offended someone. I bet it's offended someone, but please don't take it like that. I'm just a fella that wants to go out on a Sunday lunch, take my boy off playing, doing something with him without the aggro of a phone call. There we go. So, this is Sly Minx. And she has come from the 7 of us, of 7 are us boys, with the Trant lads down in Southampton, and it's good to have them back actually, because they got fed up with me and they left me. I thought I did such a good job for them. We had a little mare. We won 2-3 races with her, but they tried their luck with Neil Mulholland, which destroyed me. I felt so sad about it because they're good boys. When they go racing, they get as pissed as I do, and they love the crack. But it's great to have them back, and they get a bit sort of like, they get quite tricky when they get really pissed. I think they sort of like get touching people up and stuff at times. But anyway, only a couple of times with the old missus. So anyway, the good old Slime Mate. It's great to have these boys back, and fingers crossed we can have some fun with her. She was with Mick Shannon. She was rated, I think she rated 75, and she's by 60s icon, nice big scopy filly, and fingers crossed with her. So she just got a bit racy, she's disappointed. She ran at a Goodwood Festival, very disappointing. She just chucked in a couple of bad runs, and fingers crossed we can get her back. And 60s Icon seems to really enjoy Lorna. We can just give her a little walk again. 60s Icon, they seem to love hurdling, and she wants soft ground. She won her maiden at Cattrick over a mile 6. I think a mile 6. She seems to stay all day, and she'd actually be ideal for juvenile hurdling. Aim her at little fillies races, and look forward to some good days out with the 7R Us boys. Lorna, that's lovely. Thank you. This is an unnamed horse. It belongs to Ed Hawkins. He's a 4-year-old, and he's by a side called Norse Dancer, and out of a mare called Hoppatina. So anyway, Ed's new to us. He's a local guy. I've known him for a long time, so it's great he sent us a horse. Frankie, we're just giving him a little potter actually. But as you can see, he's a giant of a horse. He's a 4-year-old, and we've got him cantering, and he's been sitting up sides, And just kick the dog, please. And but anyway, he's going absolutely grand. So we look forward to probably getting him out in November time, I should think, all going well. We had him a little bit around before lockdown, just to try him out a wee bit, and he just did run up, and hopefully he won't do now. But he's got a good attitude and jumping well in the school, and we will find out in the next month or so whether we're going to go for a bumper or another saddle. Okay, lovely. That's smashing, Frankie. Thank you. So this is the last horse. Hooray, we're on the last one. And this is a horse called Sandy Brook. Now, Sandy Brook is for sale. He's come from John Costello, which is obviously my best source of horses. And he's never sold me a duff one, our John. Um, so with this fella, he's a 5-year-old. He's running 1 point to point and finished 5th. So John actually did want a lot of money for him, and well, I know why in the point to point in the video. They do say he's sort of pick of the race. Basically, he's quite big when he ran him. John quite likes running a horse like that, and then having a crack the next time. And you know, I think he likes to have a nice educational. The way COVID stopped that, and anyway, I'd like to think we've bought him very very well. This horse, he'll be a £35,000 horse, and I think he'd be a real nice type. John swears by him. I've only I haven't sat in him. Jen's ridden him a fair bit, and she's a huge fan of his. And as soon as she saw him in Ireland last year, she wanted to buy him, and we just didn't have the money for it. And but now we've got him now, and so if anyone out there is looking for a nice horse, I'm sure that's there. To be quite honest, I'm not too fussed. Me and Jen will potter away with him because I feel like a bit of a Smurf Yankee last year. You sort of go and sell a horse like this just before it runs, and you know it's just at the end of the day, if he did go and did what Smurf Yankee did in a bumper, he'd be a very valuable horse because look at the size of him, and he's from a proper chasing family. Good boy. And you can see, no, absolutely, a gorgeous horse by a stallion called Sam Mason. And anyway, he's got everything to look forward to. And I'm sure if we get him there in the bumper, we will be hopefully running well. So anyway, that's all our horses. And I'd just like to say thank you very much, especially you owners, for supporting us and in keeping us in the... or doing something that we actually love doing. If we won the lottery, we'd be doing exactly the same thing. And you guys make it more interesting for us. Owners do, you know, I find it a lot more challenging most of the time. I think it'd be quite boring if we had 50 of our own horses. So, but one thing we'd like to do is just get racing back to normal as soon as possible. Anyway, many thanks, over and out.